I always wanted to serve on a jury.
I'm really super excited to be here, so I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Creating this whole trial daddy.
I want to give a big shout out to the 13th Jury Podcast and Brandi.
Yeah, I applaud you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
That every time you run into Phil Barber, you should reach for it.
And then I just looked to the jury, and it's sort of like, look.
I was in the eye of the storm, and you guys were watching the storm.
Hey, if your porter works, come pop in and say, hey, want some coffee?
You are a ray of sunshine, and I love what you've done with your YouTube channel.
Hello, jurors. Look, I have something fun today. Look, I have my green screen on that I haven't had chance to mess with. I have a bunch of boxes behind there, which is the only reason I actually put it up this time. I have so much going on right now. So in order to hide that, I have like a little pop-up green screen. I just never used it. So now it's up. So now you get to see this. Okay, so this behind me, this is actually my window. It's not the live version. It's just a picture that I took of it. But that is my window. It's just not the live version of my window. It's the version from a few days ago. So that's you know, it's fine. It'll be fine. But so every time y'all see me looking over like this, that's what I'm looking at right here, all this. Hello, I am starting late today because y'all, I am trying so hard to get this episode 9, of 13th Juror Podcast, Conspiracy in Canton. I'm trying so hard to get it finished, and it's so time consuming, y'all. It is so time consuming. And I woke up early this morning to work on it, and I was like, okay, I'll get it done and in time to go live. And I had a doctor's appointment this morning too, which that's really the reason. I had a doctor's appointment at 8:20, and that took longer than I was expecting. So then it threw everything else off. So anyway, I'm late, and I had put the link because I saw where let me exit out of y'all should see how much stuff I have like just pulled up everywhere. But I have so much stuff pulled up, and I have all my stuff that I've been working on. I am trying to get through. This might just have to be a shorter episode. I don't know that I'm going to be able to ever. You know, I need like 24 more hours in the day. But that's not how it works. So I hear. But anywho, I have not been listening. I listened to the very first part this morning, just to see the ruling on the third-party culprit motion that they had filed, and I saw where she's not going to exclude it right now, so we'll see how that goes, as time progresses. So we will, it'll be interesting. I know that they can't stream the entirety of the jury selection, but I saw where Young Jerks was live on there. So I was, let's see, let me pull it up. So I put that link so y'all could watch with him until I was able to get done. I did not actually get done with the podcast. I will have to Missy Russell, one day I'll be able to breathe. One day. Maybe after this trial is over. So I will, I you know, whatever. It's fine. Well, there's always next year. Right? There's always next year. Okay, so let's take a look. I have a couple things that we're going to do. How's the car? Thank you. The car is okay. It's just my back, like, quarter panel is messed up. So the guy, and I wanted to be so mad. But I was not in the car. But it got hit in the parking lot. And I sent Cajun a picture when I was dealing with all of this yesterday. But I guess he misjudged or something. I don't know. Anyway, he ended up, like, crunching into, like, my back quarter panel of my car, like, above the tire and stuff, like, that whole section. And so it's kind of, like, crunched in. And I wanted to be so mad, but he was so nice about it. You know, and he felt really bad. He was like, he's a local too, which is nice because anytime it's a tourist, they just leave. My kid's car got hit last year in the parking lot when he was at work, and the person just, like, left. So at least it's, you know, a local, and he was really nice about it. But he felt really bad, and he was like, it ruined my day, you know. And so then, like, once they're nice about it, then you're not allowed to be mad anymore. Then you just have to be like, it's okay. You want to hit the other side? No, not really. But he was really nice about it. So it's okay. It's just one more thing to have to deal with right now, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But, you know, it could be worse. I could have been in it. It could have been, you know, a bad wreck. It could have been a whole bunch of different things. So at least, you know, at least it's fine. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. But thank you for asking. It's drivable, at least. It's not like, I mean, I can drive it. I probably shouldn't, but I can. But also, when do I have time to drive anywhere? So there's that. Okay, so we have a lot going on today, y'all. We have Jbug1052. Welcome. Welcome to the family. Welcome. You look good in green. So glad to have you. Amy Kimbrough. Per my last email. Yeah. Yeah. Get in the car. I hope so. Yeah, doctor's appointment's fine. It's just it was just like a routine one today. Nothing major. But it was at 8:20 this morning, and then of course it was longer than I thought it was going to be. Anytime I have so much stuff going on, then everything else in the world piles on at the same time. That's the way that my world works. Oh, let me show you something else too. I did this when I was on hold a couple days ago. Hold on, let me figure out how to do it. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I set this up too to where if we don't want to look at that, we can look at, oh wait, hold on, I have to move myself here, don't I? I have to move myself over here. So I set this up if, it doesn't work as good though. See how it's like this weird, I don't know. Anyway, but see, with this, I can put, I have my, like, my trolls, not trolls, gnomes. Trolls are different. No trolls today. But I have my gnomes and my little Lucy stuff and my Lego orchid and stuff like that. So we could do either. But anyway, I set that up because I thought it was fun. But who doesn't want to look at the beach? True Crime Range, thank you so much for Uber in case you need to go anywhere. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I don't have time to go anywhere. Actually, I am. I'm going tomorrow with dinner with my mom and my friends. So there's that. I think that's the only time I'm going to be able to get out this week. Thank you so much. Yeah, beach always wins. Beach always wins. So I appreciate y'all giving me a little bit of patience this morning because Lord knows I have been busy. Super, super busy. I have been working on the podcast. I've got it almost done, and I am going to have to finish it tonight. So I was trying so hard because today is, of course, first day of trial, of jury selection. So I was trying so hard to have it done today, and I just couldn't do it. So it's going to have to be, I'll finish it when we finish our stream today. I'll finish it tonight, and then hopefully release it in the morning. Every time I end up releasing them, I always end up staying up all night the night before. It never works out to where I can't. So, it'll be fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. So that is that. And I have appreciated all of the people asking me when it's going to be ready and when we will get it. I just have not been able to finish it yet, but I am trying. I would rather have it a little bit late and fact check 10 times than to rush it and have something wrong. So, is that an actual pic outside of your window? Yes, but this is from a couple days ago. This is not today. Today it's a little bit cloudier. So, but I took this a few days ago when I was getting ready to, when I was making these things, and I just never use it. But I was getting ready to do it, and I have like stuff behind my green screen, so you get to see it today. I won't be using it often because I don't like having to put up the green screen up, but you get to see it today. All right, so this is our plan for today. Did y'all get to watch some of the jury selection stuff that was going on with Karen Reed? I had it on the screen, but I had it muted, so I wasn't actually listening. I know that we started to watch some of the jury selection stuff with Chad Daybell, and, it kind of gets a little bit repetitive sometimes. But...
lawyer respond.
Oops, my bad. Oops, hitting buttons. Don't touch the buttons, Brandi. Stop touching buttons, Brandi. Okay, Chad Daybell.
Lawyer responded at 9:33 a.m.
Ooh, shh. Too loud. Okay, why? Hold on, I'm trying to pull up. We're gonna watch Chad Daybell, some of the stuff from yesterday, and they did y'all see anybody who actually got to watch some of it? Did you see that they have better camera angles and what was yesterday? Yesterday was day 3. They had better camera angles and stuff, which is so nice. So nice. So excited about that. Let's see. That audio is good. Okay, we'll keep it there. So we're going to watch some of that while we are waiting on Karen Reed jury selection. Jury selection for Karen Reed is probably going to be a minute. And I will tell you why. Oh, they turned it off after she read them the case and list of names who might be called. Gotcha. Yeah, they had said that they weren't going to have the streaming going the whole time, so I'm not surprised by that. But that's okay. Did you see where, let me pull it up. Let's see here. There's a reporter who is in there. I follow him on Twitter, and he is named Ted Daniel. So this was interesting. Let me pull up his Twitter. He said, where'd it go? There's the thing about the third party culprit argument. Okay, our count is roughly 90 are in the courtroom now. The judge gave brief explanation of the case. Both sides introduced themselves. Where'd it go? Okay, here it is. The majority of prospective jurors raised their hands when asked if they heard or talked about the Karen Reed case. The majority of them. The majority of them. Roughly 20 to 25 people in the pool raised cards indicating they have already formed an opinion about the case. About 10 to 15 people in the pool claim to already have bias one way or the other. The jury pool is filling out the questionnaire, and then they are being called to the bench for questioning by both sides. So this could take a hot minute. It could take a hot minute to get a jury for this, which we knew. We knew that going into this. We knew that this could be one of those things that, like, we are going to live here now. This is where we live. We knew that. So it's, that's fine. It will possibly be a while, which is okay, because we also have Chad Daybell stuff to keep us occupied during this, because we are, of course, since I missed yesterday dealing with car stuff, we have some of that to catch up on, and today. So it could be a while. They're saying a week. I think it will be more than that, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's get started with Daybell. You want to? There we go. Oh, my beach disappeared. I don't know how to make my beach behind me when I'm doing this part. You can see where I've been recording back here. All right, let's see. I have not watched any of the Daybell stuff. I have not seen any of it. So anything that we have to watch here, we will be watching together. And anybody who has watched it, if there's any parts that, because of our time constraints, if there's any parts that you think we should skip that aren't, that you know how we do. We don't want to skip anything that contributes, but if they're going to be arguing over some motion for 47 minutes.
That it was inadmissible as being irrelevant, and Mr. Pryor, I understand you wanted to get a further either clarification or another opportunity to argue that point. Is that something you want to argue this morning?
Judge, I would like to argue it. Judge, would the court prefer I go to the podium, or can I argue from here?
I think it's best if you just stay at council table, so
Okay.
the microphone will pick that up.
And may I, Judge, proceed?
Yes.
Judge, it's really a two-prong argument. One, I wanted to make a record of the fact that the court had ruled that the evidence relating to Joseph Ryan and that Alex Cox had committed an aggravated assault felony on Joseph Ryan, and that Mr. Ryan feared for his life. That was in 2007. Judge, I have a probable cause affidavit from that particular jurisdiction relaying the facts of that particular incident. I would point out, Judge, that part of our argument is that Alex Cox's modus operandi was to protect Lori Vallow whenever there was any sort of discernible threat towards her, or any kind of threat towards her. Alex Cox would come to the rescue and engage in this kind of conduct. As an example, Judge, this is our position is that's exactly what happened with Charles Vallow. That's exactly what happened with Brandon Boudreaux. And those occurred in, I believe, 2019. Approximately 12 years earlier in 2007, the same modus operandi. And the difficulty, Judge, and the relevance in my mind is that we are looking at a third husband. The third husband, this was just not some random act. This was a third husband of Lori Vallow who was subjected and put in a position of fear. And then the fourth husband, from the defense, and I think the state would agree, Alex Cox perpetrated a murder upon the fourth husband, Charles Vallow. And the modus operandi, Judge, and that's where I think this comes in, is that Alex Cox is a protector of Lori Vallow. And I realized that the state had got a transcript of my opening statement. I didn't recall seeing a motion or an order requesting that they be allowed to do that, but lo and behold, I was provided a transcript of my opening statement, and I did adhere to that, Judge, and I don't think it was something that I have to file a 404B to ask permission to do that. Quite to the contrary, 404B requires a prosecuting attorney to file motions, and it's at the end of 404B that's required. The state does, or the defense does not have the burden to do that. And in my mind, this was relevant, and it was relevant to Alex Cox's behavior, modus operandi, in how he took care of, and he was the protector, or whatever adjective you want to use, of Lori Vallow. So at this point, Judge, I just wanted to make a record that that's what my position is.
All right. I'll hear any argument from the state on whether or not the court's previous ruling excluding that evidence should stand or be reconsidered.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state agrees with the court's previous ruling. We don't think that this set of facts meets the 401 test that of relevancy. It has no tendency to make a fact more or less probable than it would be without the evidence in this case. The reason for that is that this is so attenuated by time. I believe this was a 2007 incident dealing with an individual who, other than being the father of one of the victims in this case, has no other connection to this defendant. So you have this very long section of time in between that creates this attenuation. We think there's going to be a foundational issue as well. I don't think a PC affidavit in and of itself comes in. We believe that's hearsay.
Let's do 1.25 speed just for the argument.
Talk about it. And so based on those two, based on that, and on just, there's a case, Pomrenke versus State, 169 Idaho 474, and I think it applies here. The holding there is that proffered evidence is irrelevant if it tends to disprove effect of consequence only through speculative inferences. And I think that's where this is speculative inferences, that because Alex Cox may or may not have done something to Joe Ryan back in 2007, that he is somehow, that somehow removes this defendant's guilt in this case. So we do not think it passes the 401 test. And again, we think there's a foundational issue. So we'd ask the court to just affirm its previous ruling.
And Judge, if I could respond just ever so briefly. Judge, there is no time limit on bringing up these allegations that I'm aware of that limits these allegations or says they're not relevant because they occurred a certain number of years ago. This is a co-conspirator. And that's what's very important here. That's what's extremely important, is part of the case that the prosecutor has to show is that Mr. Daybell, Chad, engaged in a conspiracy with Alex Cox and Lori Vallow and then other unknown or unnamed co-conspirators. However, if Alex Cox took it upon himself to engage in conduct at the bequest of Lori Vallow or not at the bequest of Lori Vallow to protect her or to inflict harm on another person, it's not a leap to say at this point, Alex Cox previously acted on his own. Alex Cox acted on his own with Charles Vallow. Alex Cox acted on his own with Brandon Boudreaux. And if the state has to prove that Chad Daybell was involved in a conspiracy with Tammy Daybell, J.J. Vallow, and Tylee, it's absolutely relevant that Alex Cox, in his previous behavior, his modus operandi, was to act on his own and to lash out and do things on his own. I couldn't think of something that's more relevant in this regard. And I just felt very strongly, Judge, that the court had not thought this through. Now, I understand we're all under the gun, and I agree there's been a number of motions filed, and we are scrambling, and that's not unusual given these circumstances. And the court had to make a decision very quickly and was under the gun. But I just felt that I wanted to give the court an opportunity to hear out my argument and put it on the record so the court could look at this and say, okay, this is how I feel about this. And that was really the purpose of this, Judge. And if the court needs me to file a motion, Judge, to reconsider, I can do a one-page motion to reconsider just so we have a clear record of this, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. On that last point, I won't, on this issue, require a motion to be filed, knowing that it's on the record now, brought up, and will be noted in the court minutes as a motion heard this morning. So the court has reviewed the defense request that information relating to this 2007 incident be brought into this case. It gets into
thank you.
404B type issues. I don't know that it actually is 404B, which, as pointed out by the defense here, really has some notice requirements and things that seem to be exclusive to requirements of what a prosecutor needs to do under 404B. The notice provision does specifically indicate what a prosecutor is required to do in order to provide notice. So there is one, in noting subsection 2, in a criminal case, the prosecutor must, and then it's got an A and B on notice. So without determining here, because I don't think it's necessary, whether or not the defense would be required to provide the same reasonable type of notice as a prosecutor, the real issue at stake is whether or not, in this case, this 2007 incident has enough relationship to the charges at hand to become relevant or admissible evidence under Rule 401. The court would note that there is a conspiracy charged in multiple counts here involving Alex Cox, and the dates that are alleged in the indictment or alleging a conspiracy that occurred on or between October 26, 2018 and the year 2020. So the earliest date the state is alleging is 2018. This would be an incident that was approximately 11 years before, I should say, to clarify, Mr. Pryor, but 11 years beforehand. And I do have to look at how attenuated that is from the facts here. While there may be some relevance, the real
Lucy got a haircut.
Is, under 403, is this relevance that is more probative than unfairly prejudicial. The state's raised questions on foundation. How does evidence come in of this event that happened now 17 years ago? Who would lay the foundation to really get any of that evidence in if it starts coming in and the state wants to challenge the defense theory? Also, while Alex Cox is a named co-conspirator, Joe Ryan's not listed as a victim in the case. And the court just finds that under looking at 403 balancing test and Rule 401, I'm going to maintain the ruling that this is simply too far outside of the scope of the charges, too far outside of the scope of the alleged conspiracy, would be more prejudicial than probative, and without adequate time or even possibly way to establish a foundation to allow a response from the state would be unfairly prejudicial as well. So having considered that, then the court is going to maintain that previous ruling that the incidents alleged as they relate to Joe Ryan and Alex Cox will be inadmissible during the trial, and that will be the court's ruling. So Mr. Pryor, I'll ask you to refrain from further references to that based on this evidentiary ruling. Any questions on that, Mr. Pryor?
No, Judge.
All right, any questions from the state?
No.
Okay, thanks. Counsel, we'll go off the record here momentarily then. While everybody gets ready, I'll step off the bench. We'll let the public come in, and we will let the jurors in. I'll let everyone know we do have all 18 jurors returned today. They've each signed their affirmation, so they are good to go to hear evidence this morning. And as soon as the public's seated, let me know, and we'll come back on and get started with evidence. Let me just ask the state, who's the witness that's going to be coming up today first?
The first will be Vince Kamanu.
Okay.
Oh, that's the name that we didn't know how to spell last time. Dr. Bull, about a member for 3 whole months. Brandi, love being part of this community. Please give Lucy a boot from me. You see, she's got her little haircut. Lucy got her hairs cut. She got her little bitty hairs cut, and now she looks like I went ahead and had them like cut her really short, and she looks like a little rodent, a cute rodent, but for sure a rodent. Super cute rodent, but definitely a rodent. You are not that late. I am late, so that means you are not that late. You have not missed anything spicy yet, except for my new green screen. Hold on, I'll show you. It's my new green screen, but I'm not keeping it up all the time because traffic gets in the way.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, we are back on the record on KCR 22-21-1623. The jurors have all returned. The court has confirmed each of them also signed their declaration and acknowledgement that they followed the court's admonishment to not investigate or look into the case over the break. So thank you very much, each of you, for following that instruction during that long weekend break. The state is continuing with its case in chief and presenting evidence. I'll note the defendant and counsel are present, as well as the prosecution for the state. And I'll also note this hearing is being live streamed today. As I mentioned last week, if we do run into any technical issues with that live stream feed, we'll instruct tech to try to let us know how quickly that may be fixed, but would likely proceed with the trial if we do run into any issue causing a delay with that. So at this time then, I understand the state has a next witness to call. Is the state ready to proceed this morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is the defense ready to proceed? All right. Then the state may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Vince Kamanu.
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth.
Oh, how close am I to 19K? I don't know. Let me look. $40.
All right, Officer Kamanu, as you're answering questions, please make verbal responses for the record. Mr. Wood, you can inquire.
Thank you. Can you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Vincent Keone Kamanu. Last is K-A-A-I-A.
Officer, I'm sorry. Could you talk a little more loudly
it's
right
on
into
this
your
side.
mic? I think we're barely picking that up.
Is that better?
Do you know who this is?
Is that loud enough? Quiet.
Do you know who this is?
If you'll give us just a sec, we'll make sure that microphone's adequate.
Listen to that voice. Listen to that voice. Those of you who did Lori's trial
You want me
with
to start spelling the last name, see if that picks up?
I think the longer one will work better.
You know who that is? Hold on. I'm gonna look. Can I make it to where like I can see if my green screen? I'll make it to where I can sit by him. Move! We are trying to see Detective Daddy.
Vincent Keone Kamanu. Last is K-A-A-I-A-K-A-M-A-N-U.
Here.
Thank you. What is your occupation?
Me and
I
Detective
am
Daddy.
currently the Chief Deputy of Madison County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been in that position?
I started with Madison January of this year.
So 2024.
Correct.
What was your occupation before you took on that position?
I worked with Fremont County Sheriff's Office.
How long were you with Fremont County Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 18 years.
Have you ever worked for any other law enforcement office?
I have not.
Are you post-certified?
Yes.
With the title Chief Deputy, is there a specific title we should refer to you as?
That's fine.
Okay.
Or Detective Daddy.
Have you been
He goes
involved
by that, too.
in the investigation regarding Chad Daybell, Tammy Daybell, Tylee Ryan, and J.J. Ballo?
I have.
In your current occupation as Chief Deputy of the Madison County Sheriff's Department, is it part of your responsibilities to oversee the jail?
Yes.
So they report to you?
The captain does, yes.
As part of your responsibilities in overseeing the jail, do you have an understanding of the jail intelmate or the phone call system?
Yes, I do.
What is that system and how does it work?
The Telmate system is a phone system that the inmates, while in jail, can make phone calls or FaceTime visits with their family, friends outside of the jail.
And how long have you overseen this at the Madison County Jail?
Since I've been there January 2024.
Have you had experience with Telmate in other counties?
I have.
Did Fremont County use the Telmate system?
Yes.
And the Telmate system, does that include telephone and video visits?
Yes, it does.
On video calls, is the camera always utilized?
On video calls, the camera is utilized when the iPad is docked to the station. Once that iPad's removed from the docking station, the video camera shuts off and it goes into a phone call mode.
How do you ensure that inmates don't make calls on behalf of other inmates?
When someone's brought into the jail and booked in, they're given a specific PIN number that's to them. When they go to set that up through Telmate, they have to give their PIN number that they were given. They also take a face photo, and they say their name approximately 3 times, so it's voice recorded.
Whenever an inmate places a call or participates in the Telmate system, is any information recorded or stored regarding that call?
Yes.
What is recorded?
The whole conversation, whether it's a FaceTime or a phone call, is all recorded from once it starts to when it ends.
And is the outside party required to provide name and personal information?
They can go on to what's called gettingoutofjail.com and put that information in. That allows them to put money on their books for phone calls or commissary.
How do you access the information that is stored on the Telmate system?
I've got a username and password.
Is there any way for you to edit the information that is stored on Telmate?
No.
Are you aware of any other agency being able to edit it?
No.
Where are the phones and tablets located in the jail?
In our jail system, we have what are called pods, and the pads and phones are located in the day room where all the inmates have access to that. The phone is connected to the wall, so if they're just doing a voice call, they need to stay out there. Like I testified earlier, they have that pad there, and they need to stay there to do a face-to-face or FaceTime. But once that pad's removed, it blacks out, and they can take that into their cell and talk, but it's only a voice talk.
How do you know the date and time of each call?
The calls are time-stamped.
Now, we've been talking about Madison County, correct?
Correct.
I want to call your attention to June 9th of 2020. At that time, was Lori Daybell an inmate at the Madison County Jail?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, Chad Daybell was not in jail at that time?
Correct.
Right. Your Honor, I'd ask that the witness be handed State's Exhibit 33.
Very well.
We fell in love with his voice during the Lori Vallow trial. He's the first. He's the one who is the original trial daddy.
Detective, do you recognize State's Exhibit 33?
Yes.
What is it?
This is the thumb drive with the call on it.
All right. Do you know what day that call was made?
The call on this thumb drive was made June 9th, 2020.
All right. And who are the parties to that call?
Lori Daybell and Chad Daybell.
Right. And have you reviewed the call on that thumb drive?
Yes.
Are your initials on that thumb drive?
Yes.
Did you put your initials on that thumb drive after reviewing that call?
Yes.
Is that call a true and accurate representation of what is stored on the Telmate system?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that State's Exhibit 33 be entered into evidence.
Any objection? All right. And just one more clarifying point. Is that the only file contained on that thumb drive, Mr. Wood?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Exhibit 33 is admitted.
Oh, we need 21 more to get to 19,000.
Just real quick, Detective. When was the first time you heard this phone call?
June 9th, 2020.
Where were you when you heard it?
I was at the property of 202 North, 1900 East, on Chad Daybell's residence.
Were you there for the search of Chad Daybell's residence on June 9th?
Yes.
And so you accessed this phone call from that location?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury?
You may.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm glad you were able to laugh with us.
This is a call from and paid for by
Lori,
an inmate at Madison County Jail. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. If you don't wish to talk, hang up now. Thank you for using Telmate.
Hello?
You okay?
Oh, they're searching the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm at Emma's. Mark Means will be talking to you.
Okay. What, are they in the house?
No, they're out in the property.
Are they seizing stuff again?
They're searching. There's a search warrant, and so when I just at Emma's with the kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to set up a call. I'm glad you called.
Yeah.
And we'll see what transpires.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
What do you want me to do? Pray.
What?
What do you want me
Yeah,
to
pray.
do?
Pray. Yeah.
Okay. What can I do for you?
I'm feeling pretty calm. I would call Mark, maybe. Just talk with him.
Have you talked to him already?
I did call him, yes.
So he knows what they're doing?
Yeah. It's like a call from somebody else I need to talk to. I love you so much.
Okay, I love you. Should I try to call you later?
I don't know. I don't know. You can try, yeah. I'll answer if I can.
Okay.
I love you, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, baby. I love you.
Okay. Love you. Goodbye.
Detective, do you know approximately what time of day that phone call was made?
Around 11 o'clock in the afternoon.
Your Honor, the state will be recalling Detective Kamanu for other things, but at this time we have no further questions.
All right, Mr. Pryor, would you prefer to cross-examine at this time, or save that for when he's recalled? Very well.
Her voice is just.
And officer, you've also, are coming back, you've got a subpoena from my office as well to show up. We've made arrangements for that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Officer, Prosecutor Wood asked you where you were on June 9th of 2020.
Correct.
And you were at the Daybell residence. Is that right?
Yes.
Any idea how many other officers were there at that time?
I can't recall how many other officers and agencies were there.
That was Lori
Was it more than
Vallow
10?
on the phone.
Yes.
More than 15?
Yes.
Okay. So more than 30?
Yes.
Okay. So 30 police officers from their various agencies, obviously.
Right.
Right. And at that point, I heard on the tape where Mr. Daybell mentioned that he was at Emma's. Now, do you know who he's talking about when he says Emma?
His daughter.
Okay. And in relation to the house, where does Emma live?
At the time of this incident, Emma lived kitty corner, roughly from Mr. Daybell's home.
That would be what, the southeast corner?
The southwest.
Southwest, excuse me. Southwest corner of the property.
Correct.
It was kitty corner.
Yeah.
Relatively close to the Daybell, Chad Daybell's house, right?
Yes.
Within walking distance.
Yes.
So he was over there and there were no restrictions on his movement, is that right?
Correct.
And he could come and go as he pleases.
At that time, yes.
Right. And at that point, you overheard him talk about a Mark Means.
On the phone call, yes.
Right. Okay, and on the phone call, he said he was going to talk to somebody else.
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever learn who he was trying to talk to, that other person?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have an occasion to be present when Officer Wheeler and Officer Hope were recording the interaction with Mr. Daybell?
I was not.
Okay. Okay. And at that point, if Mr. Daybell were to be leaving at that time that this phone call took place, he would have the right to do that, and there was no restriction stopping him.
Correct.
And he could go if he wanted to meet somebody or meet up with somebody, he'd have that opportunity.
Correct.
Now, would you agree with me, with 30 plus officers showing up at your house, that would cause you a concern? The average citizen.
To the average citizen, yes.
In fact, you probably agree with me that were you a street officer at some point with Fremont County?
Yes.
Parole officer?
Yes.
And when a police officer puts on his lights and gets behind you and pulls you over, that's an emotional, or at least an unnerving experience as well, right?
Yes.
So you would suggest that when 30 plus police officers show up at your house and search, that would cause you to have some concern, right?
I'd be nervous, yes.
More than nervous, right?
I'd be nervous.
All right. Okay. Now, Lori Vallow made mention that search again. And you're nodding your head. Had you been out there previously to search the Daybell property?
I have not been out there previously.
Are you aware as the manager, I don't want to use the incorrect term, you were the supervisor of this case, would that be fair? Or is there a better term?
Over the Fremont County portion of it, yes.
Okay. Are you aware as part of your investigation as to whether or not anybody else had been out in any of the law enforcement agencies on Mr. Daybell's property previous to that time?
Yes, I was aware.
All right. How many times are you aware that they've been out on his property prior to that time?
Prior to that time, I believe they were out in January of 2020 doing a search of the house.
Okay. Any other times?
Not that I can recall right now.
Did anybody from your agency ever go out to the Daybell property unannounced and search the property without a large group of officers?
Unannounced? No.
All right. How about announced and saying we're going to go out and just look around?
With a search warrant, yes.
Okay. And was that in the January occasion?
Correct.
There was no other occasion that officers went out there. Is that what you're telling me?
I can't recall what other dates we were out there.
Okay.
But yes.
But there were other dates that you were out there looking at the property. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay. A number of them?
No.
More than 5?
No.
Now, as part of your investigation of this case, you've interviewed a number of witnesses in this case. Would that be fair?
Correct.
You've interviewed Melanie Gibb?
Correct.
Several times.
One time.
Okay. Regan Price?
Yes.
How many times?
One time.
Saluma Pastenis?
Approximately 3 or 4 times. I'd have to check my notes.
And then Garth Daybell, Chad's son, you've interviewed him a couple of times.
One time.
Okay. And where was that interview?
That was done at Rexburg PD.
Okay. And in that occasion, you showed up at Mr. Garth Daybell's house, is that right? Or did you show up at the school?
We went to the school, yes.
Okay. And at the school, it's where Garth was working, is that right?
Correct. I wouldn't consider that an interview.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
But at some point, you approached Mr. Daybell, and who was with you at that point?
Special Agent Ricky Wright.
Okay, anybody else?
No.
And at that point, you took Garth and asked that he go down to the police station with you, is that right?
No, not at that time.
Okay. But you mentioned that you approached Garth Daybell at the school.
Correct.
And that the interview, or at least what you said may not have been an interview, took place at the police station.
So there was 2 different times.
Oh, okay.
One time we talked with Garth at the school to advise him of the findings of his mother's death.
Okay.
That I would not consider an interview.
Okay.
The second interview was done at Rexburg, or the first interview that we brought him into Rexburg PD.
Okay. And when you say brought him in, where did you first have contact with him on the day you brought him in to the Rexburg Police Department?
That we made contact with him at his home.
And at that point, did he have a choice at that point, or were you taking him into custodial care at that point?
At that time, it was custodial care to come in and talk with us.
Okay, so he didn't have an option. He was going to go to the Rexburg Police Department. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and then how long was he at the Rexburg Police Department on that particular day?
I'd have to look. I want to say a couple hours.
Okay. And at that point, did you ever talk to him?
Small talk until his attorney got there.
Okay.
Got him some McDonald's, some pop.
Okay. But at that point, there was nothing in terms of the interview with Garth on that particular day. Is that right?
Not until his attorney got there.
Okay. Okay. And do you have a recollection of how long it took for an attorney for him to get there?
I don't, off the top of my head. I'd have to look in my notes on that.
Now, we're going to be revisiting that in a little while in terms of the audio or the videotapes of Chad on June 9th. Did you have an opportunity to review the audio and the videotapes of Chad and Emma on June 9th?
I have not.
Okay, so you don't have any information about those?
I do
As
not.
part of your investigation in this case?
I do not.
Okay, okay. Other than law enforcement on June 9th of 2020 and June 10th of 2020, other than law enforcement, was there anybody on the scene at the residence on either of those days who was not a law enforcement officer?
We had the Fremont County coroner there.
Okay.
And a few cadaver dogs.
Okay.
I believe that's it.
Okay. Nobody else?
Not that I can recall at that time, no.
And were you there the entire time, or were you there just for a short period of time?
The entire time.
The entire time would have been from like 7 o'clock in the morning until when on the 9th?
Dallas,
We
happy
finished up
anniversary.
about 4 or 5 on the 9th.
Okay. And the last part I want to cover, and we're going to revisit some stuff. I mean, we'll do this in pieces, obviously. When you were in there in January of what year again? I'm sorry?
2020.
Okay. When you were there in January of 2020, you also brought cadaver dogs, right?
Are you referring to the warrant that was done January 2020?
Yes, that's what I'm referring to.
I was not at that search warrant, so.
Okay. And I don't know why I thought you were. Do you have any knowledge as to whether or not they brought cadaver dogs that day?
I can't recall if they did or didn't.
Okay. Judge, that's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pryor. Mr. Wood, any redirect?
Just briefly, Your Honor. The defense spoke to you about nervousness. Correct?
Correct.
That's a normal reaction when you're pulled over by the police.
Correct.
Have you listened to multiple jail phone calls between Mr. Daybell and Lori when she was in custody?
Yes.
Was the tone of this phone call normal?
I would require some additional foundation for that, Mr. Wood.
Okay.
So I'll overrule the objection at this point.
Has it been a regular part of your investigation to listen to jail phone calls between Chad and Lori?
Yes.
And you've listened to many of them?
Yes.
Right. And in listening to those, would you say that the phone call on June 9th, that the tone of that phone call is different than their average phone call?
It's overruled with additional foundation. I will permit any recross just on this issue as well, though, Mr. Pryor. Go ahead, Mr. Wood.
Was it a different tone?
Yes.
Were you present on Mr. Daybell's property when Mr. Daybell drove away?
Yes.
And do you know what was taking place around the time on Mr. Daybell's property when he drove away?
Could you repeat that into your microphone, please?
I'm an object, Judge, on the basis of foundation.
Well, he indicated he was on location when this happened, so that's overruled.
Repeat that, sorry.
Are you aware of what was happening on Mr. Daybell's property when he drove away from the area?
Yes.
What was happening?
We were looking for 2 bodies on his property.
All right. And are you aware of when he drove away if one of those bodies was being discovered?
Yes.
Who?
JJ Vallow.
All right. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
All right. If you'd like, Mr. Pryor, I'll allow recross. But limited in scope to those 2 issues.
All right. Thank you, Judge. So you talked a little bit about the tone of the phone call was different. Is that right?
Yes.
And we talked a little bit earlier about the fact that there were over 30 police officers on a piece of property that day, correct?
Yes.
So you would expect that there would be a little different of a tone when 30 police officers at 7 o'clock in the morning arrive at your home. And would that be fair?
That would be fair.
Okay. And then as far as what was going on when Mr. Daybell left, are you aware that Mr. Daybell was going to see an attorney that morning as he was leaving Emma Murray's house?
Objection calls for speculation.
I asked him if he's aware of it.
It's overruled.
Are you aware of that or not?
I was not.
Okay. And again, you didn't have an opportunity to review the tape from the videotape of Officer Wheeler or Officer Hope on that morning. Is that right?
Correct.
So you don't know the circumstances or the reason for why Mr. Daybell left his daughter's home kitty corner from the house and drove off, do you?
I am not aware why he drove off.
So to suggest that the fact that they found a body on his property and that was the reason for him driving off. You don't know what the reason Mr. Daybell drove off. There's another reason, or it could be another reason. Would that be fair?
There could be another reason, yes.
Right. All right. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So for this time, that will conclude the testimony of Officer Kaya Kamanu. He is the state's designated agent, correct, Mr. Wood?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I point that out because the exclusionary rule does not apply for this particular witness who will be recalled, so you can go ahead and return and continue to observe the trial proceedings as well.
He was the, oh, look, we're almost there. We need
Statement
one
calls
more.
next witness.
Yay!
We would call Detective Eric Wheeler, Your Honor.
Yay! Yay! We hit 19,000. Yay! That's exciting. Yay! Yay!
All right, before we begin with testimony, let me just confirm with Detective Wheeler here, who's now under oath. The court does have an exclusionary order in this case in effect. Have you observed or listened to any of the trial testimony that's taken place in this trial?
No.
Okay, so you have followed that. You haven't discussed any of the testimony with anyone else or reviewed that with anyone from the state?
No.
Very well. Mr. Wixom, if you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Detective Wheeler. Good morning. Could you please state and spell your full name for the record?
Detective Eric Wheeler, ERIC WHEELER.
Thank you. And can you please explain to the jury, where do you work?
The Rexburg Police Department.
How long have you worked there?
18 years.
And what's your current rank?
Detective.
And what was your rank prior to becoming detective?
Patrol sergeant.
And how long were you a patrol sergeant?
Approximately 3 or 4 years.
And how long have you been a detective now?
3 years.
So prior to that, were you a patrol officer?
Yes, sir.
And just very briefly, for the jury's sake, will you please explain to them what's the basic post-training that law enforcement receives?
So I've received my advanced and master certificate through Idaho Post, and so it's training that you have to go through, in-service type training. You have to go through the Post Academy to get your basic certificate, and it entails everything from traffic, criminal code, search and seizure, laws of arrest techniques, firearms, those sort of things.
Thank you. And I want to draw your attention almost 5 years ago, back to June 9th of 2020. Were you involved in any kind of search that occurred in Fremont County?
Yes, I was.
What search was that?
It was the search warrant that we were asked to help with at 202 North, 1900 East, Fremont County, Chad Daybell property.
And what was the subject of the search?
My role in the search was to maintain scene security, safety, traffic and crowd control, while investigators conducted the search on the property.
And just briefly, help the jury understand more. Why do law enforcement need to maintain safety and security at a search scene?
Anytime we're doing a search on anybody's property or home, there's a risk that's an inherent risk to the officers as they're conducting that search. And so whether that's agitated bystanders or the homeowners themselves. And so we just like to keep everybody safe by maintaining that control.
And we'll come back to your role in that capacity, but I want to fast forward a bit. Ultimately, did you help find anything on the property as part of that search?
Yes.
What did you find?
I found remains of Tylee, and then I observed the remains of JJ.
And very briefly, can you explain to the jury, before we go back, describe where those remains were found for each of them relative to the property?
Judge, I probably need a little bit more foundation.
No, he was present at the scene. He just said he observed this on the same date.
Overruled.
So JJ was located by the pond area of the property, and Tylee was found near a fire pit just east of the property.
And for the jury's sake, relative to the home on the property, where are the fire pit and where are the pond?
Samantha, Terry, thank you.
The fire pit's east of the residence, and the pond is north.
Thank you.
East of the residence.
Would that be in the front of the property, the back of the property, the side?
The rear of the property.
So I'd like to come back now to your role in safety. So can you be specific with what you were assigned to do in that role as the search when you arrived?
Advocate, thank you.
So when we arrived, I helped maintain traffic as they were in the process of closing the road down in front of the house because multiple vehicles were going to be showing up. So I helped maintain some traffic control at the beginning. And then I stood by as detectives went and served that warrant to the occupants inside the home. And then my role was to just stand by and observe the occupants and their coming and goings as they were free to move around as they wanted.
And is that common in a search until something's found? Are the occupants allowed to remain on the property and sometimes move around?
Yes.
Prior to beginning your role on the search, did you have the opportunity to identify Chad Daybell?
Yes.
How did you do that?
Prior to this, just through investigation, through tips that we were receiving, even in patrol, we were helping field multiple tips that would come into the agency as we were looking for the children. And so through that investigation, I'd seen multiple pictures and images of Chad Daybell.
So is it fair to say that on June 9th that you were capable of identifying Mr. Daybell when you did?
Yes.
When you took your role, when's the first time let me withdraw that. Can you tell the jury what time of day, the best you can recall, that you arrived on scene to help with the search?
We arrived to the residence, I believe I got there just after 7 a.m. on the 9th.
And can you also let the jury know, were there other law enforcement agencies involved?
Yes, there were multiple law enforcement agencies involved.
Could you just briefly identify which agencies were present?
The ones that I knew were present at that time were the Rexburg Police Department, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, and the FBI.
Thank you, Bug Duggar. Thank you.
Were there a large number of law enforcement present?
Yes. Yes.
So when you arrived, you were given this assignment. Please recall and then explain to the jury, when's the first time that you personally got eyes on Chad Daybell?
So it was approximately 7:30 when I observed him leave the residence and walk over to his vehicle that was parked on the back driveway, the east side of his home. He got in the vehicle and then moved his vehicle over to the west driveway area and backed his car into that driveway on the west side of the house.
And if I could have you explain to the jury, Detective Wheeler, when he moved the car to the west side driveway, can you explain to the jury what would his vantage point have been relative to the pond and the fire pit?
He may have been able to see the pond area a little better from that west front driveway where he moved the vehicle to.
And so once he moved the vehicle, what, if anything, did you observe him to do?
He sat in his vehicle and was on the phone for quite some time. Just sat there in his vehicle.
So as you saw him in the vehicle making phone calls, while he was doing that, what's the next thing that you remember he did?
So I remember there were multiple times that I could, because I was trying to keep eyes on him as well as the west side, the front part of the house, and there were multiple times I kind of saw him awkwardly looking over his right shoulder towards that east or that northeast corner of the property where the pond area was, and that's that time where some of the investigators and cadaver dogs were working.
And you just used the word awkwardly. Can you explain to the jury what you meant by awkwardly and what indicated to you that he was awkward?
The best way I can explain it is that for somebody to look over their right shoulder for a long period of time, and the reason I use awkwardly is because there was one time that he did exit the vehicle and kind of walked towards the rear of his vehicle and looked in that direction, and that's when I figured that he was interested or suspicious of something going on in that area, and I had made note to one of the other officers that was close by of that behavior.
And so when he got out and walked to the rear of the vehicle, based on your observation, would that have improved his vantage point back to the pond?
Yes.
What did he do next after he got out and walked to the rear of the vehicle?
So he got out, walked to the rear, kind of passenger side, a little farther on the passenger side of his vehicle, looked around for just briefly, and then got back in his vehicle.
What did he do next?
I believe he was on the phone for just a little bit longer, and then he drove over to kitty corner to his residence where his daughter was staying.
Were you aware that that was his daughter's home at that time?
Yes.
Which daughter?
I believe it was Emma.
What did he do when he drove over there?
I know that he had a conversation briefly outside and then had eventually gone into the home.
I assume, could you see him while he was inside the home?
I couldn't see him while he was in the home, no.
How long do you recall him being in the home?
Approximately an hour, hour and a half maybe.
Eventually, did you see him come out?
Yes.
What did he do when he left that home?
I, again, was occasionally looking over to see if he was leaving or was needing anything and coming back to ask questions. And so I would look over there, and one of the times I did, I was talking to another detective, and he came out of the home and appeared to be in a hurry. He went directly from the home to his car, had some items in his hand, and then left the property. And I remember at that time that there were assigned detectives responsible for following him if he went certain places and just kind of keeping an eye on him. And so Detective Schmidt was one of those detectives, and so I mentioned to him, hey, Chad's leaving. And about that time, other investigators that were in the back of the property came jogging over saying, hurry and go stop him.
When you said leaving, did he leave on foot?
Sorry, so he got inside of his vehicle and drove going south, and I do remember the accelerating. You could hear the acceleration, and I thought, is he trying to run? I remember that was a thought that went to my mind. And then when the other detectives said, hurry, go stop him, where I was in a marked vehicle, I responded to that request.
In your experience as a law enforcement officer, is it common for someone who is the subject of a search at a home when they believe something is going to be found or is being found?
Judge, I'm going to object. This calls for speculation.
It's training and experience, Your Honor.
Judge, no, this is...
Hold, Mr. Wixom, first of all, if there's an objection, let me think about it for a minute and respond before you start arguing against the objection. So please, also for the court reporter, at this time, I am going to sustain that objection.
Okay. So you went and stopped him. Can you describe to the jury, you said he was, in your opinion, going fast, is that right?
Correct.
How far away from the home approximately was he before he was stopped?
It was right around the Fremont-Madison County line where he stopped. I couldn't give you an exact distance.
Did you make any personal contact with him when he stopped?
I did.
And what did he say or do?
So at the time, all I had was a request to stop him. I hadn't gathered any further information. The other detectives that had made that request were right behind me. And so I exited my vehicle and asked Chad to exit his vehicle and explained to him that I had been asked to stop him and that the detectives were on their way to talk to him. At that
Particular point, did you notice any change in his demeanor at all?
He didn't ask any questions, wasn't way shocked or surprised that he got stopped, and complied to the request that I asked of him.
At that point in time, did any other law enforcement become involved in contact with him?
Yes.
Who was it that you recall?
At the time, his rank was Lieutenant Ball, and then Detective Hermosillo, and there were a few other officers. I don't necessarily know their names or who they were that were at the stop.
Now, asking you to recount for us, what was the first thing that you remember law enforcement telling him?
So,
Judge, I'm going to object.
Grounds?
It's hearsay.
Sustain.
Judge, may I argue that?
Go ahead.
It's not offered to prove the truth, Your Honor. It's just the effect on listener, which would have been Chad.
But the point you brought up in the question, what was the first thing you remember law enforcement telling him? So I think it's just directly calling for hearsay. So it is sustained.
Was there some interaction?
Yes.
Once that interaction occurred, were you ever instructed or did you ever take it upon yourself to arrest Chad?
I placed handcuffs on Chad.
And what did you do with him once handcuffs were placed upon him?
He was told that he was being detained right now, and he complied. I correctly put the handcuffs on, checked for proper tightness, double locked them, and then put him in my patrol vehicle.
During that interaction, are you aware, was he ever advised whether or not there'd been a find on the property?
Yes.
What was he advised?
That they had found JJ.
So in your vehicle, do you have a camera system?
Yes.
Is there any camera system inside of the vehicle itself?
Yes, we have 3 different cameras that are linked together. One is inside where we put our prisoners, and then one is the dash cam, and then the one we wear, which is our body cam.
The one inside where you put your prisoners, what do you refer to that as?
The in-car camera.
Your Honor, at this time, I believe by stipulation, we have 2 proposed exhibits. One states 300A, the second is 300B. I'll first just offer to the court. They are a copy of the in-car patrol cam for this day for this officer, and then also the dash cam. I believe we have stipulation to their admission.
All right. On 300A, it's been offered. Is there stipulation from the defense?
Judge, there is for 300A and 300B, and as counsel correctly pointed out, one is the dash cam inside the vehicle. The other one is a camera that recording the same incident outside the vehicle by another officer. And correct me if I'm
Agreed.
Yeah. So both of those by agreement, Judge, are being admitted or proposed admission.
All right. Exhibit 300A and Exhibit 300B are both admitted.
Your Honor, with that, may I have permission to begin to publish 300A?
You may.
Thank you. And Your Honor, while I'm preparing this, I would just further want to note for the record, we likewise have a stipulation. These videos are each an hour and 50 minutes. I only intend to play approximately 15 minutes. We have an agreement between counsel that the state can play what they wish to, and our defense counsel can likewise play what they may wish to.
All right. If you do that, Mr. Wixom, if there is some identifying marker on there, either a timestamp on the video itself, so we can identify in the record precisely what portions were played, then please do that when you publish.
Will do, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I can have just a moment, please.
We'll skip through a little bit.
All right.
Let's see, get to where.
Your Honor, the problem I'm having is this particular flash drive, and I prepared multiple, is not pulling up the file. It was moments ago. So if the court would like me to send this.
Fine.
Already.
I went too far.
Mr. David.
Yeah, well,
You confirm also, is this the day of June 9th, 2020?
Yes.
So this is all relative to,
Skipped ahead too far. Sorry.
I think I've got it ready.
Okay.
So for the record, Judge, I'm going to advance the video to 1 hour and 3 minutes and 3 seconds approximately to begin publishing that.
Okay. And then when you stop the video, please just note on the record the timestamp of when it stopped also.
Will do, Judge.
Thank you.
Before I play this, Detective Wheeler, you see on screen a video that's put in front of the jury.
Yes.
Can you just explain and confirm what that is?
That's my patrol vehicle with Chad Daybell sitting in the back section where we have our detainees.
And to confirm also, is this the day of June 9th, 2020?
Yes.
So this is all relative to the search that you've been testifying about already?
Yes.
Thank you.
You understand what I have to do?
Yeah.
So you just stay here with them? Okay.
hi. They said I could talk with you and I didn't want you to be alone.
Judge, I'm going to stop at 1 minute, 1 hour, 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Ask a question. Detective Wheeler, are you aware of who is the person that has just approached Mr. Daybell in the vehicle?
His daughter, Emma.
Thank you.
I love you so much.
I love you. Glad you came over.
I thought they had taken you downtown already.
I got about to the Fremont County line.
I saw it as soon as you left me.
Again, stopping at 1 hour, 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Detective Wheeler, can you just explain to the jury the positioning of your patrol vehicle relative to the Daybell property and vantage points that could be seen from where Mr. Daybell is sitting as he sits now?
So we're parked on the south side of the residence. I believe the road is 200 north. So we're just south of the residence and facing west. And so if he were to look right outside of that open door, he would be looking at his house.
And from his sitting position, would he have a vantage point to see the pond area on his property or the fire pit area on his property?
From that position, he would just have to look over to his right shoulder and out that door, kind of towards the back of the vehicle.
What would he be able to see if he did that?
He'd be able to see the fire pit area for sure.
And to be clear, whose remains were found in the fire pit?
That was Tylee.
I'm going to go ahead and play this continuously for a while, Your Honor.
Chased you down and then they came back.
Ron,
Ron,
just concerning the car,
Huh?
I know they,
Yes.
okay.
What's that?
Oh, just about the car.
Oh, we'll take care of the car. We're gonna take it.
Is she able
and we
to
will-
get it?
Yeah, you can get that. We may have to go through the car, if you're arrested in it,
Right.
the things we gotta do, but then.
She can have her bananas and her.
I gave him
her-
food.
We'll try to get a car before it's 4.
You can eat it.
So Eric, or Ron, so like my wallet, will that be able for her to pick up, or could I turn
Yeah.
that over to her right now?
Is that in the car, is that here?
It's right here.
That's it's up to you. I don't see, can I look through it? Just make
Sure.
They're going to get marked.
Lisa?
No,
Oh,
guard.
oh.
Is there anything that you're gonna need in that?
Well, she'll be running my finances, I suppose, so. That has a little money on it, you could,
Okay, so these are credit cards, so you're good if she just takes them,
yeah.
correct?
In the middle drawer on the left side in Mark's room, there's about $9,000 in 2 white envelopes.
Okay.
So get that. Yeah, so we'll talk more about car payments and stuff, but you have that password.
I do.
I believe the Hawaiian,
That's this one.
First Hawaiian Bank, if you use that same password for this account, it's Chad Daybell. Look what else is in here. The producer there. This has nothing on it. It's like $6. That has to go away. So this, okay, in that same drawer, you can grab it, is a piece of this that would fit in here, and it's got the company card, company business card. And so just make sure you get that.
And this is all in Mark's room.
Yeah, I put that in there. There's like a pamphlet with a guy who's sitting in a car. It's for the Wells Fargo auto loan.
That's the loan that they went on.
Yeah, and so that we'll talk about. So this has, if you go to Telmate, this is the card that's used.
Okay.
And so all you really do, you could probably just sign in as chad.daybell or start your own.
I have an account that I've been talking with Lori on.
Okay. But you could use this card.
To add money.
Yeah, and to her if needed.
Okay.
So yeah, she'll need to still have commissary money. Usually puts 30 a week in there. And you can probably talk to her too.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I love you so much.
Cooperate with them as much as you feel. I mean,
I'm stopping at 10758, Your Honor. Detective, based on your knowledge, at this point that day in the search, had law enforcement asked for any cooperation from Emma?
I can't testify to that because I don't know the extent of that.
Fair enough. Then narrowing it just to you, had you asked her to do anything or asked for any kind of cooperation from her?
No.
Thank you.
They've been kind to us today. I texted John Pryor, so he has my number. He said thank you.
okay. A lot of the company stuff that pays for the house should just auto pay still out of that company account.
Hey.
I left 5,000 in there.
Okay.
If you need something, come find me.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions you have?
I think, well, it sounds like you're not gonna be out. in a little
Right.
while. So I think my landlord texted me just to feel bad for me. I think I'm gonna come over here.
That's what I needed you to say, because yeah, you and Joe,
Stopping at 10904, Detective Wheeler, I just want to reiterate, we just heard that comment about he's not likely going to be out. At that point in time, you had not formally put him under arrest, is that right?
Aside from placing him in handcuffs and detaining him, no.
But you didn't advise him of potential charges or anything like that?
No.
And as far as you know, had any other law enforcement advised him of any specific charges that he may be facing?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Thank you.
And whatever Mark wants to do, he should stay with either you.
I'll take care of Mark. I'll take care of Mike. That's the card. I will, Dad. And I'll take care of me. We'll take care of you the best we can. Sorry to interrupt.
So keep paying the mortgage out of the company.
Okay.
No, you can probably set it up though. I'm trying to, it's the Wells Fargo. In that same pamphlet. Remember the password.
I'll look,
But
but I've had a lot of success with mom stuff. Just saying, will you help me? My mom died. I'm pretty sure. Will you help me? My dad's in jail. That's the same.
it should be paid through July 1st.
Okay.
And I think the car is paid through July 15th. So you shouldn't have any bills to worry about. Yeah, I'm not coming back. So all that stuff that's in the baby room is Lori's and mine. The suitcases you'll see in the box. Just put it in the garage, I guess, after.
Store it. See what happens.
You guys can, yeah, you can take that mattress from upstairs, I guess, that you want, put the books back on the shelf. We're gonna make it through. I'm glad we could talk. I'm glad they let you come over.
I started crying and Lieutenant Ball went, do you want to talk to him? And like, Hannah, he said, he's just over there. It's like, oh, that changes things. You probably saw us out there.
Yeah, I was watching. So, boy, things will slow down for you guys and get left alone. And, but yeah, they'll let you move out of there. You just get over here. You know, get gosh,
Well, I
still feel better.
I'd be moving soon. That's what the spirit was telling me, but I didn't know how it. I felt like I needed to learn more. And now I get it.
So yeah, this is essentially the house, and we'll talk to John Pryor about the financial arrangement, but you should be fine for a while.
I think long enough to get on our feet.
I have a lot in that account with the other attorney, so that will take care of me for a while. And maybe we just do a refinance on the house or a home equity loan. I don't think it's going to break us. I think that might be an option there. I might need to authorize putting you on the mortgage.
Account with you. And just probably leave Joe off it.
Yeah. Yeah, keep me on it with you. And
Do you have accounts like that when you're in jail?
I don't know.
I guess this is the part you get to that there's someone else's responsibility.
Well, it's technically Spring Creek Book Company's office, so you can, we'll manage it that way and find a way.
And you have you can send things through Amazon to the jail?
Yeah.
So like I couldn't send you a package, but Amazon, if I ordered it through there, it could get to you.
Yeah.
I'll only do that as you ask for stuff.
Lori would know the Amazon account.
I'll talk to her.
Yeah. Because I have like $265 or so in there as gift certificates. So don't pay.
Yeah, I won't.
We'll get it figured out. It's like Cholo 115. Same as it loves Elena at iCloud.com, I believe is the password. I don't know what they're going to do with the computers. You could probably, it wasn't part of the search warrant.
Are they, do you know, are they leaving the computers?
Well, they were in my bag. They were in the car.
They'll probably hold on to those and try to get it out.
Okay, but things that are currently in the house will likely be left.
I don't know what they're going to take out.
Okay.
When we clear from here, whatever's in there.
It'll be left, okay.
I talked to them and told them the bedrooms and to not mess it up. And they didn't seem like they were going to luminol at all.
Okay.
But yeah, get Garth and Seth moved, and you guys come over here. It'll work out. It's all in the Lord's hands.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk. Use that cellmate. I don't know if I'm Madison or Fremont. I think they're deciding that right now. But
That's what it sounded like. Detective Ball wouldn't, or Lieutenant Ball wouldn't say because he didn't know.
I'm sure Fremont has a tailmate system. So.
Well, at Fremont, when I went in to get fingerprinted to teach, I was like in there, like in the jail. I was like in my like teacher clothes. This little recent grad. So I don't know what they do.
Sorry, all the neighbors are going to be talking, but you
They all
just.
are. We're okay, Dad.
Well, I,
We're okay. You raised us, but we're independent now. With your wallet.
glad you got
We're
that.
not Colby.
Right. But yeah, get that money out of there. Probably just put it in your own personal account. Rather than have the cash laying around. So you need some.
I think they've been okay. Talking with her. I might not tell Joe about it either.
About the money?
Yeah,
No.
I have an account that's just in my name. I'm just gonna put it in there. Wait,
Well, Garth knows about that money.
Garth doesn't spend this frivolously, it's Joe.
The checkbooks are in that drawer too, if needed, but you shouldn't need them. If at some point you feel you need to clear out the Hawaii account or something, you can check my email. I have to pick that computer, but my email, that Rexburg password is pretty much
Is that
everything
okay?
for the bank, for my email. Cholo 1105, but I think I switched to all of those. Yeah, I talked to Lori just for like 2 minutes. So she's aware they were searching.
Was she surprised?
She seemed bothered or disturbed. I mean, yeah, but so yeah, I'll be fine.
I don't know what they told you because I asked Lieutenant Ball, where did you find the human remains? Because that's what they told me, is that they found human remains. And I said, well, there's several dogs that have been buried there. And he said, respectfully, I can tell the difference with human remains. And I asked, where was it? And he said, over by the pond under that tree. That it was in the ground and had boards over it.
Okay.
But that didn't. Jason and I have walked all over there.
Yeah.
That. And I can see in your face that surprised you, because they asked, do you want to know what he's charged for? And then they went, well, actually, we don't. They said, we don't want to tell you something wrong.
I don't know if they're going to charge you for that. How they're going to.
And so he told me that what they're looking at is that they found one body with the probable cause. There's likely two. So I asked, are you going to search the property forever until it's found? And he said, well, no, but we're going to look. And he said, because I said, what about, this is the home for my siblings and there's a baby. And he said, if you're not able to get back in tonight, we'll hook them up with a hotel. I said, you're not in trouble.
I think they'll let them back. There's nothing in the house. They haven't.
Stopping at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 17 seconds. Detective Wheeler, at that point, to the best that you can recall, was any of the search focused inside of the house?
Not that I can recall.
So the focus, as based on your memory, was all outside of the house.
Correct.
Thank you.
Focused on the house at all.
We've kind of been looking in it in the yard.
Yeah, I mean, Mark gets back. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I think we're okay coming over. We just have to have law enforcement escort us onto the scene and
We'll make it through.
Mark deals with trauma weird that he just acts vaguely unimpressed. So I called him and said, Dad got arrested, and he said, well, I guess I should come home. Yeah, Mark, you should.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to go. Don't go yet.
I don't want to. Joe is home. He's home and he has Chase. Garth and Seth went in Garth's car to pick up Mark.
So if you can get back.
A couple seconds.
Okay, okay. Yeah, just let Mark use the Equinox or however you rearrange the cars. But yeah, it's all a matter of timing. It seemed to come together. But I love you.
Love you very much. Thank you for letting me speak with him.
Yes, just when that cellmate, once I'm available to talk, we can talk. So, thank you. Love you.
Now, stopping at 121.16, for the record, I'm going to advance to 121.39. $121.36. Detective Wheeler, I just invite you to watch carefully what Chad does, and I'm going to stop and let you explain any significance to that. Stopping at 121.47. Detective, what direction is Mr. Daybell looking when he just turned his head and looked back?
It appears to me he's looking over to the fire pit area.
And that is in fact where Tylee's remains were found?
Yes,
And you were present when her remains were found, is that correct?
I was.
Can you just briefly describe what your observations were when you were involved in that process?
So I had been tasked with helping carefully excavate around the remains. The odor was horrible. The decay had set in. We were trying to get pieces of flesh and bones as much kept together as possible until we were able to get most of it out and laid out and packaged.
Thank you. And to be clear for the jury, before you became involved in the actual search and helped find Tylee, what did you do with Chad in the back of your patrol car?
So shortly after that, we were asked to transport him to the Fremont County Jail. So Detective Schmidt and I transported him to that facility.
So then what did you do after you transported him back to the jail?
I was asked to come back to the scene, and that's where I was informed that they'd also found an area where...
I'm going to object at this point. That's calls for hearsay.
It sounds like there wasn't foundation for that, so I'll sustain that.
So when you returned, what did you do specifically?
I assisted in searching the area of the fire pit.
And were you the lead investigator at that point?
No.
Was there a lead investigator?
Yes.
And were you following directions from whomever that was?
Yes.
As you recall, who was that person?
It would have been either Lieutenant Ball or Detective Hermosillo, but I can't say for sure.
There's no doubt you were subordinate. Is that fair?
No doubt.
I think the last question, about how long were you back at the property in this process of recovering Tylee's remains?
I had returned back to the property at approximately 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon after I dropped Chad off, and we were there the rest of that day and into the next day, the 10th.
Approximately how many hours the rest of that day were you there?
I had to estimate another 5 or 6. I also assisted in setting up light trailers and things for scene security overnight. Sorry, light trailers.
Your Honor, at this time, I don't have any further questions. I might ask as a courtesy to counsel if he wants me to leave my laptop and the exhibit in case he wants to play from it.
Judge, I can use my own laptop, and I've marked as exhibit number 63 on my list a copy of the outside video that Officer Wheeler was involved in. There's 2 videos that we stipulated to. Just as a precaution, Judge, and it's not that I don't trust Mr. Wixom's technology, but I'd ask Mr. Wixom to stipulate to the admission of my exhibit number 63, which I'll make a representation is the exact audio video of the outside of the stop of Mr. Daybell.
We do not object, Your Honor. We believe it will precisely mirror and should precisely mirror exhibit 300B from the state that you've already admitted.
Let me be really clear on that then. So we've already admitted 2 exhibits. I really don't want a duplicate exhibit. And it sounds like 300B would be the same as 63.
That's what I believe based on the representations of counsel, yes.
All right, counsel, if there's a way to use the same single exhibit, I would prefer that to avoid any confusion in the record.
Judge, for convenience, would Mr. Wixom permit me to use my video of 63 for demonstrative purposes with this witness?
Counsel, why don't you work that out? I think what we'll do is take a mid-morning recess before you begin cross, Mr. Pryor. And if you'll talk just for a moment, we've already admitted 300B. And so again, I'm just hesitant to have a duplicate video showing the same thing. I guess I'm not, maybe I could be convinced, but I think it's best practice to have one exhibit for one video. So if your file works in his computer, perhaps he can just use his computer with the admitted court exhibit 300B.
It's fine with me, Your Honor.
Okay, if you'll take a look at that on the break, let's go ahead and take our mid-morning recess. Let's try to reconvene again in 30 minutes.
Your Honor, for the record, I wanted to turn in the exhibit that I just played because there was the issue with the other player, just so the court can keep track of what was just played.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be the one that will be the 300A.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be in recess.
Okay, so, yikes. That was gross, really. Like, that whole conversation was just gross. It felt gross. I mean, it's hard to know how you would... It's hard to know how you would act or what you would say in such a crazy situation, but I don't know. I mean, everything about Daybell to me is gross. So maybe I'm not the right one to ask. Maybe not. All right. So we made it to mid-morning break. They come back. Let's see, let me get it to where right before it starts. Okay. So this is our plan for today. I hate to do a short stream today. It was not my plan. Nothing this week has gone as planned, but you know, this is how things are right now. So we have, yesterday was day 3, today is day 4, and so we have some stuff to catch up on, and that is the plan. However, I have an interview with Law and Crime in a few minutes, so today I'm going to have to cut everything short. They're interviewing me for the Karen Reed stuff, and which is exciting. I don't know when it's airing yet. I will find out when I film it in a little while. I will try to find out when it is going to be airing, but I have to film that in a few minutes, so I am going to... Oh, Lindsay Hendricks. I'm unsure if this was ever truly verified, so keep that in mind. Does anyone remember when one of Chad's kids posted on Reddit after they all, Lori included, went to some theme park? Ugh. The whole thing is just... I don't know. I'm not, you know. What do I know? But everything about him just creeps me out anyway. Ugh. Daybell. Oh yeah, this is not a live picture. This is a picture of my windows, but it's not live. I wish I could stream in front of my windows, but it would just be like I would just be a black figure, because all you'd be able to see is outside, which I'm sure all of us would be okay with, but honestly. But it's my green screen. I have my green screen up. For now, it won't be up all the time, but I gotta leave it up for my Law and Crime interview too. So, anywho, so the plan is I have got to cut everything short today so I can go do my interview with Law and Crime, and then finish the podcast episode so that it will all be done and behind us. So tomorrow, what we are going to do is, Remaw said the only stat today is the original Trial Daddy. The original, y'all, he is the original. His voice was the first one where we were like, oh, that's lovely. His voice is lovely. It's like butter. We all wanted him to like read us, like, you know, good night stories and whatnot. Anyway, loved his voice. Still love his voice. So anyway, and also keep in mind, that's all we had during Lori Vallow. We didn't get video. We only had the voice. So, they just said they've been powering through the jury selection process. without a break since about 10:30 this morning. That's the update. That's it. That's the update. So the yeah, he could read anything. Like, he could read my tax forms to me, and I would still put it on repeat. That's okay. So anyway, he is the original trial daddy. Somebody called him Detective Daddy in here, and chat went off the rails. And this channel has not been the same since. So thank you so much to everybody. We hit 19K today, which is amazing. Next stop, 20K, which is crazy, right? It's crazy. Who knew? Who knew? So I'm going to go do my interview with Law and Crime. As soon as I find out when it's airing, I will let y'all know so we can take a look at it. I will keep up with all of the updates for jury selection, so we kind of know what's going on with that as well. I've got a little bit left that I need to finish on the podcast, and I'm going to finish that when I'm done with my Law and Crime interview, so that way everything else is behind us, and tomorrow we can go through and watch the rest of the dumbbell stuff and get caught up with that. We'll speed trial through all the rest of that. So that is the plan. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Sorry it has to be a short stream today, but we are almost caught up for now. Once jury selection is over and Karen Reed starts, we'll never be caught up again. We're always going to be tired. And that's okay too. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for the 19K. And I will get the stream set up in a little while for tomorrow. We're going to start early instead of doing like the late trial since we got stuff to catch up on. We're going to start early. So we'll start at 9 Eastern tomorrow. So that way we can also keep an eye on what's going on with Karen Reed. And while we're keeping our eye on the Karen Reed jury selection, we will be watching the dumbbell stuff and getting all caught up with all of that. So big stuff happening around here, y'all. Big stuff happening. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.
I gotta go. I can't stick around here forever.
Everybody was wonderful. Everybody behaved. Everybody's always so nice to me.
Just love your channel and
Goodbye, good people. Now, how the heck do I get out of here?